Yes, Abbas, you can start.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. First of all, I would like to request Izaz Ahsan from BS English to please recite few verses from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah. On behalf of the, am I audible to you people?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. Wait a second. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Departmental Facilitation and Support Club, I, Syed Abbas Karim, warmly welcome you all to the webinar on Fulbright Masters and PhD programs, application procedure and guidelines. Fulbright program is considered the largest and most prestigious educational exchange program that enables the fresh graduate students, young professionals, and artists from 160 countries to study, teach, and conduct research in the United States. It is funded by the US Department of State. The grants cover tuition, required textbooks, airfare, a living stipend, and health insurance. In Pakistan, the Fulbright program works under the policies and regulations of the United States Education Foundation in Pakistan. In addition to academic works, this program also aims at enhancing mutual understanding between nations and advancing knowledge across communities and improving lives around the world. Today, we have been joined by three diligent presenters who are very well experienced, and I would like to formally introduce them to all of you. Our first presenter is Noorul N. Rahman. She's a student of BS English 7th semester. Noor is an alumna of the Sister Exchange Program 2022 and studied creative writing in Boston University, Massachusetts. She has co-authored 2 books in collaboration with aspiring pens and has been working as a content writer since the beginning of her degree. Thank you so much, Noor, for joining us. Our second presenter is Nimra Faridoon. She's a student of BS English 8th semester. Nimra is a grantee of the Global U-Grade Exchange Program for Spring 2022 and has studied a semester at New England College, New Hampshire. Currently, Nimra is working as an education activist. Nimra, we are so grateful to have you in this webinar today. Our third presenter is Muhammad Darvesh. He's a student of BS English 4th semester. He has been the Director of Scholarships and the Departmental Facilitation and Support Club for the last 1 year and assists students in national and international scholarships, procedures, and guidelines. Thank you, Darvesh, for joining us. Before handing over this platform to our presenters, I would like to give you a brief overview of the application portal, certain general informations which are required before filling the important sections of the application. So first of all, this is the link. Once you click on this link, actually, it'll take you to the portal, the application portal, and this is the first view that you will get. On this page, you have to put your login credentials, which probably you won't have because it's going to be the first time to come to this page. So you have to click on this button, start a new applications. Once you do this, you will be directed towards this page, registration form, in which you will be asked to enter your email address, confirm that email address, and enter your CNIC. Once you click on the submit button, so you will receive an email from no reply at the rate of uscfp.net, and you can find that email in the spam folder of your Gmail. So once you check that email, your credentials, your login credentials will be there, and by using those login credentials, you will be able to log into the application portal. So once you do that, you will be then directed to this page. Actually, this is the first overview of the application that you will get. The circle on the top left portion, it actually shows the progress of your application, that how much you have completed the application, how much sections you have completed. But before going into the general instructions, or the first section, I would like to give you a brief overview of how many sections you're supposed to fill. So this is basically the screenshot that I've taken, and it shows that you have to complete all these sections, and all these sections are very important, uh, except the last two sections, the personal financial information and university preferences. The rest of the sections, they are compulsory. These two sections are optional, but it is actually preferred to fill these two sections as well. And one of our presenters will be talking about this in detail in a while. Now I would like to talk about the application instruction. It is one of the most important section of the whole application portal. So application instructions, it basically gives you a brief summary of the entire application, what you are supposed to do, what are the documents that you must have before applying for the Fulbright master's and PhD programs. So this application basically is comprised of four forms. The first form actually talks about the eligibility criteria. The second one talks about general instructions. Third one talks about specific instructions for application items. And then it goes towards supplemental forms and other instructions. So basically, I have taken the screenshots, and I'm going to share those screenshots with you people. And I'll be trying to briefly define those forms, that what are the instructions that you have to keep in your mind before applying for or filling the application. So the first one is the eligibility criteria. So you are eligible if you're a Pakistani citizen. Dual citizens are allowed, but not dual US Pakistani citizens, or those people whose close or immediate relatives are permanent residents of the United States. Similarly, you must be either a permanent resident of Pakistan, means that you either be working here, or a student. So that is also the second. That is the second point. Similarly, for masters, 16 years of formal education is required, while for a PhD program, you must have 18 years of education. Similarly, you must be a good and fluent speaker, as well as in written English. You must be also a good uh, person. Similarly, the last point is that you should have not availed, while you're applying for the Fulbright degree programs, you should have not, it is necessary that you should have confirmed it that you have not availed any Fulbright scholarship from the USFP before. Uh, uh, Along with this, there are certain other things that you have to keep in your mind, like there are certain tests that you have to attend before filling your application form application. These two are actually GRE test, and TOEFL is also required. But in some of the programs, there are some subject-specific tests as well, which one of our presenters would definitely talk in detail in a while. The second one is general instructions. So general instructions, basically, there are 10 instructions, but I would talk about it briefly. That it is said you must fill or complete the whole application in English. Try to keep in view the word limit that is mentioned about each item that you fill. Similarly, do not leave any kind of answer incomplete while you are just moving towards the next one. Make sure that you are done with the first one that you are already doing. Similarly, the you must have a Pakistani valid Pakistani passport. If you do not have, apply for it immediately. Your CV should be complete, and you have to copy and attach one CV with all the documents. Similarly, Last point that you see, that USFP endeavors to place students in the university and program that best matches the students' interest and achievements and offers cost sharing. So it is quite mentioned in so many places throughout the form that you're not supposed to mention or directly send this application to any university in the United States. So you have to take care of all these things. Now, in the specific instructions for application items, uh, actually item mean that in a particular section there are certain forms that you have to fill. So if each aspect of a particular form is called as item, or is termed as item. So these are actually the instructions for the items, and it includes your name, degree, objectives, field of study, institution attended, and all the stuff that you have to enter. The presenters will talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about it in detail, but there are some instructions that you have to keep in your mind while filling certain items and certain forms. Supplemental forms. In supplemental forms, some of the documents that you will be required while completing your application for Fulbright degree programs, and it includes letter of reference or recommendation, uh, which which are two in number basically, your GRE test report, supporting documents needed to complete your application, which includes academic transcripts, standardized tests. As I said, that you are supposed to appear in certain tests as well. TOEFL is also mentioned, and GRE. Similarly, optional test, which depends upon your program of interest, right? So it's not basically that everybody has to, attend all the tests, but there are certain tests which are necessary for certain programs. Uh, then other instructions. So in other instructions, it's basically mentioned, and throughout the form it's actually mentioned in each section, that please take care of the word limit that is provided above each item. You cannot exceed from the word limit that is provided to you, to the applicant. Similarly, as I said in the start, that application status is this the circle which is given on the left side of the application portal, which tells you that what is the progress of your application. And you can also take advantage of the application instructor. So instructor would let you to inspect the section of your information application that is necessary to complete your application. So if you have missed any kind of thing, the application instructor link is going to guide you in that regard. Similarly, while you're completing any section, you have to save it so that you are able to return to it once, if you kind of leave anything, so you will be able to return to it later. Similarly, there are actually three programs department of USCFP and Pakistan. The three major cities: one is in Islamabad, the other is in Lahore, and the last one is in Karachi. Accordingly, the preference that you have, you can contact them accordingly. The word limit is, again, it's mentioned that you should take care of the word limit and the browsers required, because it's online application portal and you have to do everything online. So these are the supported browsers and requirements that you have to fulfill before starting your application. Uh, the last one is that it is very helpful that you follow USFP on their social media platforms, because there are certain sessions that they arrange, and the deadline, everything is actually mentioned on that. So it is very helpful that a student or applicant like their social media pages. Now I would request Nurul and Rahman to please illuminate us with your presentation.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Abbas, for giving us such a concise overview of the application. It's very long and it's very hard to cover it all in 5 minutes. So hats off to you. I know that applying for USCFP scholarships can be very daunting. So all we're trying to do here is just build on our experiences to make things a little bit better for all of you. But we're all learning here. I learned a lot from you, Abbas. I'll just share my screen if you guys give me a second, and then we can get into the presentation. I'll try to be as brief as possible so that I don't exceed your attention span. I hope my screen is visible. Okay,
Yes, it
great.
is visible, Noor.
Great. So I will be covering four sections of the application process. The first is the study plans. So when you go into the study plans, you'll see this kind of screenshot right there. The first thing that you have to do is to select your degree objective, and which is you have to select the application cycle that you're applying to. So for example, if you're applying in 2023, that means you're applying for the 2024 to 25 cohort. If you're applying in 24, you're applying for the 25 to 26 cohort. So it's like a year ahead of it. So make sure that you choose the right application there. Then you have to choose your degree objective, which means whether you want to pursue a master's degree abroad or a PhD degree abroad. The next section is the proposed field, which means that you have to select your major field of study. Please focus that this is the major field of study. So if you go through the options available, you see that they have English language and English literature both in the humanities sections. So either you want to pursue literature or language or even something else, you can choose that here. But in the next section, you have to describe the specific area of study that you plan to specialize in. So because this is a specialized degree, a master's degree or a PhD degree is a specialized degree, so you need to mention the very specific area. And the key to filling the USCFP scholarship is to be as specific as possible. So, for example, if you've chosen a humanities English language, you can maybe write here if you want to study something in psycholinguistics or maybe pragmatics. So that depends on you. So the next thing that you have to do is describe your future plans. So in this section, you have to write 70 to 75 words. Please keep the word limit in view. And you have to describe the career that you plan to pursue when you come back to Pakistan after completing your studies or your research. So it can be anything that you want to do, either the teaching field, the government sector, the business sector, industry, or any other thing that you want to do when you come back to Pakistan. You can also indicate if you're currently working somewhere and you intend to resume your profession when you come back, or if you have a promised position in your home country, which is Pakistan, after completing your degree or research in the US.
And just let me add one point here. This is very important point. You really need to mention that whatever you're going to do when you come back to Pakistan, because they need a guarantee that you will come back to Pakistan.
Yes.
So mentioning your job or your future plans in Pakistan is very important. Keep this thing in mind.
You also have to stay in Pakistan for 2 years if you get the scholarship. That's a compulsion. So you need to make sure that they know what you're gonna do when you come back. USCFP is going to spend a lot of money on you, and then we need to make sure that it's going in the right place. The next section is the education sector section, and there are a lot of things that you need to do here. First of all, you need to mention your educational institutions. You need to list all the educational institutions that you attended in the past or even are presently attending, but you need to make sure that they're in the reverse chronological order. So you need to mention the most recent one first. Then you have to mention the list of any possible scholarships or fellowships that you hold either at present or in the past. You need to mention the source or your sponsor. You need to mention the amount of scholarship that you received and where it was held and the duration of the scholarship. Next, you need to mention your academic honors. Now, academic honors may be any prizes or titles that you achieve during your academic journey, and you need to mention them along with the dates. The next thing that you have to mention is any books or articles that you may have published. Now please make sure that if you haven't, it's okay. You don't have to like make up something and add it there. Just make sure that you whatever you're writing, it's authentic and you actually have done it. So if you have published any books or any articles or even thesis, you can mention it here. Especially make sure that it's in your proposed area of study. If you posted them online, you need to provide the USCFP website with the URL of the publication. You also need to mention the title, the place, and the date of publication. Next, you need to mention and give a list of any professional societies that you may have hold memberships to, or even if you have been active in them in the past. If you have had an elective office there, it's a very big plus point, so you can mention that there. You need to mention any teaching experience that you may have. Then again, if you don't, it's all right, you don't have to mention it, but if you do, you need to mention where you have been teaching, the duration, and the name of the institution. You also need to mention the research that you've done in the past. This can include either research that has been completed or it's in process. But make sure that you limit your response to 70 to 75 words because we tend to go overboard when it comes to explaining our research. The next thing that you need to do is mention your occupational experience. This is a fairly simple portion. You just need to mention any current position or occupation that you may have right now, and any experience, any professional occupational experience that you have in the past. But you also need to mention your language skills. Now, if you go to the language skills option, you'll see this screenshot there. So first of all, you need to put in your mother tongue, whatever it may be, and then you have to rate your language skills. You can either rate yourself as excellent, good, fair, or poor. And this includes all of the languages that you may have competence in. Now you can see that it is reading, writing, speaking, and the years studied. So you can even put Arabic there if you know you're good at reading it. You're not good at writing it or speaking it, but you're good at reading it, so you can put it there. But make sure that whatever you write, it's authentic. Then again, because they can test you in it, and they will test you on it on in your interviews. The third is the most daunting section, I feel like, of the whole application. It's your examination results. So this is the first section that will crop up, and this is the second one. So you can either put in the results of your TOEFL, IELTS, or GMAT. You have an option in that. You need to mention the date, the day, month, and year that you took the exam, and then your score. Then you have to take either the GRE General or the GRE Subject exam. So in the GRE General, you have three sections of the exam, which is the verbal English section, and then there's the quantitative section, which includes mathematical problems, and then the third section, which is the analytical section, which includes kind of like problem-based questions. So you also need to mention your date of the day you took your exam and then your score there. But the GRE subject is kind of, I'd say, a little more complex than the GRE general, because the general includes it's just what the name entails. It's a more general overview of exam. But the GRE subject exam is a very specific, particular to a one subject. So you need to have a lot of you need to be well versed in that particular subject. For example, if you're an English literature student and you're giving a GRE subject exam on maybe drama, then you need to be aware of all the dramatists, all the dramas, the various dates, the genre. It's kind of like a very in-depth exam. So you need to make the choice whichever you want to give. Then you also need to mention whether you have traveled, lived, or studied in any country other than Pakistan for more than a month. You need to indicate the places, and the dates and the reasons. It can either be, for a vacation or a business trip, or for research or for education purposes. So you need to mention it here.
Even for Umrah, if you have gone for Umrah, you need to mention that as well. And it's going to be a positive impact on your application. Don't worry about that. Wherever you have gone in the world, mention that.
Yes, provided it's you stayed for more than a month. So this is, I feel like, the most important, or the most asked, the section of the form filling where everybody's quite confused. But before we go to the research objectives, you need to mention your emergency contact on your application, both in Pakistan and in the US. But if you don't have an emergency contact in the US, it's absolutely okay. But you need to mention your emergency contacts in Pakistan in case of any emergencies. So the research objectives section is a 700 750 word composition that you have to write. It's compulsory, and it's quite different from personal statement, which is the next section, which Nimra will be covering. So in the research objectives, it's exactly what the name entails. The research objective section is a very formal and a personalized approach to your future study goals. But make sure that it's not personal. You have the personal statement to be personal, and kind of telling all about your life there. But this section has to be very formal. So since I'm an alumna of the Sister to Sister Exchange program, my program arranged a session with the Deputy Director of Fulbright Association in Washington, along with the Fulbright Program Advisor in Mississippi State University. And she gave a number of important points that I'm going to share with all of you, and I feel like it could be helpful for everybody. So she said that make sure that your research objectives are very formal, as I mentioned before, and they should be very specific. about your field of study and what you wish to do in the US. Make sure that you include a comprehensive, but make sure that it's not boastful collection of your academic qualifications. You can mention everything everywhere in your academic sector that you've excelled, along with the experiences that are specific to the program you wish to undertake in the US. But make sure that this program is the same that you mentioned before in the application. It's very important to maintain coherence in your application and make sure that you're not talking about English language here and you chose English literature there. So you need to make up your mind about what you want to study, be very specific about it, and then write about it. So you need to mention why the USA could be the right fit for you or for your specialization. Do not hesitate to go to the grassroots level. Just like I mentioned, be very, very specific. List all the possible courses, maybe professional development opportunities, and the resources that you're looking forward to in the US that you don't have access to or have limited access to in Pakistan. Like I mentioned time and again, the key is to be very specific. You have the personal statement to be generic. So this section majorly focuses on what you can bring to the program and how you can give back to the community with all that USCFP is doing for you and after undertaking this scholarship. So the US Department of State is going to spend a lot of money on you, and they need to know that you are going to impact the community along with augmenting your personal development. Lastly, you need to focus on how this program can act as a bridge between your career plans and your career goals, like what you want to do in the future and how you will do it, and how the program will bridge the two. So you need to mention the specificities of your degree program, whatever it may be. It might be literature, it might be any other um, domain, and then you have to relate them to your goal and make sure that the goals you mention here again are the same ones that you mentioned previously. Remember that you have to mention your goals, like I mentioned before in this statement. So make sure that both of them align. There must not be any discrepancies, and to make sure of that, reread and find out any possible discrepancies in your application before submitting. So make sure that your future goals are not ambiguous to the program viewers. Show them a clear sighted version of who you are, who you want to be, and how you're going to achieve it. And I feel like that is going to do the trick. In the end, best of luck, everybody. That will be all from my side.
So you can also ask questions from Noor again on objectives, especially in terms of the goals and plans. If it's still not clear, so in the end you can please ask her questions again. She can also give you an example of something as well. And Noor, Nimra, and Darvesh, they will leave their email addresses in the chat box. So if you want to get anything checked by them, especially objectives, personal statement, they will check it. I mean, before the 10th of April, before the exam start, so they can help you with the something that you have written. Yes, please, Abbas.
Thank you so much, Noor. It was so helpful, and I really appreciate your energy. It was so vivid, the presentation overall. Now, I would request Nimra Faridun to please proceed with her presentation.
So, Assalamu alaikum to everyone, and Abbas, thank you so much for such a kind words and introduction. As the time is very short, so we have to cover a lot of things. So, I will just jump onto my presentation. So, give me a moment to share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, starting with my presentation, like my part is basically from personal statements to words onward. Personal statement, you can also call it as a SOP or the statement of the purpose. It is basically this relates to what you are doing, what you have, what are your plans, what is your background, what is your future. So it in this section you can write about those things that you wanted to give about the information that you wanted to give about. So first of all, like the personal statement, this personal statement should be a narrative statement that describes who you are, your introduction. Like sometimes when you feel when you are filling the form, you need you feel that there are something that you want to give insight about yourself to the other person, or the one who is selecting you for the scholarship. So in this section you can write about those things that you really want to know the other person, like I am this or that. So first of all, how to write an effective SOP. First you need to draft like a rough draft in which you can add up to the things. Like first you need to free write the things about like this part is basically as an essential part of the scholarship process and of your selection for the placement into the appropriate program. Be sure to include any details that highlight your personality and individuality. So start about what you need to do it on an early basis. Like it's not a task of like going on a very last moment. You need to discuss, you need to write it from the very beginning. Like you should have an ample time to record the things about yourself. So first you need to free write about the things, like make a rough draft and write everything that comes into your mind, and don't think about like what is the word limit. And many people like think like the word limit is 700 to 750 words. So they first try to write the things in a way, like they first draft it into a 700 to 750 word, and this is not a good approach. So you need to write everything that comes into your minds. And believe me, the thing that I have wrote first, it took me like 5 to 6 pages that I wrote about myself. So whatever that comes into your mind, just write it down on the paper so that you can not miss any important details. Then brainstorm about the things and more details into your rough draft. Whatever that comes into mind, write about yourself, what you do, what your plans are, what your personality, any distinctions mean anything that stands out to you, or anything that add up to your personality or the profile. So why you are studying in a particular field, or the social work, or the major interest that you have. And then come the reasons for availing this scholarship, like why they should select, as Noor has already mentioned, that they are spending so much money and time on you. So why the reasons for availing this scholarship, and why they should choose you, and what stands you out from the other candidates. So what are the, then you can come to your benefits, like what this opportunity gives you, like the academic benefits, personal
Here,
benefit, professional benefit.
just wanted
Yes,
to
ma'am.
add one point here, sorry to disturb you. Like for example, Nimra has just said that what makes you distinctive or what makes you stand out, and why should the community, the USCFP people choose you. So you can here also mention that you're the first one in your family. Maybe you're your first female in your family, or you're the first person in your village who will go for higher studies, higher education. So something like something that will make you stand out. And if you belong to, if you come from an underdeveloped area, places where internet connection is not good, you can mention that. I feel like that you should mention everything honestly, because that will make your application stand out, or your SOP stand out. Yes, Nimra, please.
Yes. Then after that, you need to add up everything that comes into your mind. In the rough draft, you don't think about the, like about the vocabulary, using of hard words and the good vocabulary, grammar even. Like the English is not our native language, so we are particular about the grammar and the vocabulary kind of things. So you don't need to think about those things while you are drafting your rough draft. So you just need to write whatever that comes into your mind, and you will do when you will and then after that you need to mention that what you will do when you will come back, because it's a program that requires you to come back and to serve your community. And it must include your commitment towards your country, like what you will do when you will come back, and how this experience will help you to achieve your goals, and what makes you a strong candidate. So your first draft or the rough draft should include all of the information that what are your background, like what you are currently doing, what are your future goals, and what how this program will help you to achieve your future goals, why you are studying a particular field, and why you chose that, and any social work that you are doing, and any distinctions that making you stand out from the other candidates. You need to mention all that thing in your rough draft. After that, moving on to the next section, like after the second step is when you have your rough draft with you, the second step is deletion and the conciseness. Deletion is basically you need to delete or exclude the less important details. Like when you have the rough draft, you have all the things that is in your mind and that is in your profile on the paper, so you just need to make it a more good paper. So it's just on the paper, and you just need to make it more you can say that make it more good. So deletion is basically the thing that are like repetitive. Whenever you are writing something, so in the rough draft there will be so many things that you have repeated, so you just need to exclude those things that you feel like that this is the repetition comes over here. I have already discussed about this, so you just need to delete that things and make it like the concise one in the way like how will you make that rough draft into the concise. Just like if there are 3 to 4 sentences that are covering the same topic or the same theme, like if you are writing about your social work, and for example if you are working with some kind of a society and you have wrote about like 5 to 6 sentence about your like what your role entails in that society, so you just need to concise that thing into a more than 1 or 2 sentence or whatever you feel like. So and make sure that the essence of that thing shouldn't be lost. So whenever you are concising those things, you just need to make like 5 to 6 sentences into the one sentence and make it more concise. And whenever there is this repetition, just delete it. So it will leave you with when I was done with the second step, like after rough draft, my paper was like 5 to 6 page lengthy sop. Then comes the deletion and conciseness step. When I deleted and concised my stuff, so it will just reduce to the 3 pages sop. So after that, reshuffle your ideas, like the similar ideas. Let's suppose you have write about any social activity in the beginning, and then you are again like in the middle of the things, then you are again mentioning about any other social activity that you have performed. So you just need to reshuffle the things, like take that thing, the social work initiative, from the middle to the start, so that the things should be go with one another, and sum up multiple sentences into the few sentences with the use of like after that, when when you have deleted the unnecessary things and the concises the things, and then comes the vocabulary and the grammar part. So after you are left with your draft, like you are like this is my rough draft, or the one that is a bit more formal. So then go towards the vocabulary. Don't use a difficult word, don't try to use the flowery language or anything else. Just be real, and no in the beginning you just need to take no help from the google, because whenever you see someone else sop or anything else, so your own ideas or your own thinking, the way the things that you want to do, what your goals are, they somehow mask that thing. So don't go for the google things, and try to come up with your own ideas, so that
Yes,
that SOP
no
should
help from
reflect.
Google and
Yes,
Chat GPT these days.
yes, exactly. Now the chat gpt thing is also so in the beginning you don't need to look at the other sop, because I believe that there are so many students around me, they ask me give me your sop, so I just give them the good suggestions what they should do. And I have never shared my any sop to anyone else, because it somehow they try to mimic yourself, like my obviously my personality, my development, my background, my future goals are different from the anyone else that is attending the session or anyone else who is applying. So you try to, whenever you have that thing in my mind, कि इसका तो हुआ है, and they try to mimic your sop, and they try to follow your footsteps. So it is not good. Everyone is unique, and they need to present it as it is, the way they are. So everyone has its own goals, so they need to mention that goals, whatever they have, because they want originality from you. And believe me, whoever is like going for the Google sources or anything else, or any SOP that already have, they don't make up to the final selection. There are so many students like around me, um, the one that is from my batch, they share their SOPs with their sister siblings, like their cousins. So they try to mimic that, and that masks their own personality. So after that, like when you have that draft improvement, then there is
And
a
yes, they know this thing. I mean, I have been in the panel, interview panel, many times. I'm also an FLTA, guys. So we know that this person has copied the the objectives or SOPs from somewhere. Remember
yes.
this thing. We
Hmm.
are not like people sitting there. They are not stupid. They are very, very clever. And there are people from America as well, not just Pakistani people. There are Americans who are sitting there in the panel, so they know this thing that you have plagiarized it or copied it from somewhere.
Hmm. And you also have to like when your SOP is done, they will evaluate you from that SOP. And when you appeared into the interview, they will ask you the questions about from those SOPs that you mentioned, and those things that you mentioned. Whenever you are copying that thing from the other person, so you obviously you will not present it in a good way in your interview session, so it will be problematic for you at the interview stage. So after that, after you have that your draft, then improvement comes. Like you need to improve your words, not difficult words but the quality words. Even like conciseness does not means like there are like 3 to 4 words, you can concise that with one word or replace that with one word that is giving the meaning of instead of that 3 words. So you just need to do that. First you need to make a draft, and then draft in those in that draft you just need to have like these things. You have enough time so that you can have mention more and more things and replace your words. It will also shortens your SOP. And then the grammar check at the end, when you are finalizing your things, then you need to mention like go for the grammar checks. Like you can use Grammarly or any other source, like any your teacher, mentor, anyone that is good at English, you can send your SOP to them and they can proofread for you as well. So and the one thing that I want to mention about the originality is that in the recent section, like in the fall section for the global, I was talking about global U grade exchange program. In the recent section fall 2023, there is a one candidate that we are discussing about. He has mentioned everything that is real to him. So I will quickly go into that so that you can have the real understanding of what you want to mention that. So बेसिकली वो जो एप्लीकेंट था वो ऐसा था कि उन्होंने he studied from the Tart school and then madrasa system, and he wrote everything like genuinely like I'm from madrasa school system and I don't know about the academic things. And after that he joined the university. He's also like many people are reluctant to mention that they are hafiz Quran and anything. So you must mention these things because they are making you stand out from the other candidates. So he mentioned that I am from Tart school and I don't have the opportunities, and then I joined the madrasa school where there is a religious education, and then I joined university. And these things makes, and then his goal was कि मैं जब वापस आऊँगा और मैं मदरसा स्कूल्स के बच्चों के लिए कुछ करना चाहता हूँ, because they are lacking so much from the one that we have, like the normal academic system. So these are the things, are the ideas. This is the thing that I was discussing about your originality, your basics, your roots. So you need to be original. And that student is selected. Basically we all were amazed, like he totally wrote about things and he didn't mention any social work, anything, and he got selected. So originality matters a lot. So the one thing that is the most important thing, and many people they ask me a question like what should be the start and how we should start our personal statement. So your personal statement, keep that one thing in mind. Your personal statement should be like a story, like you are narrating your life story to someone. So it should be in a proper flow or in a proper sequence, and no copying, no unnecessary details. I have seen many students who start their SOP with the things like I am Nimra Faridoon and I am doing BS English Literature and Linguistics from the National University of Modern Language. They don't need that. Don't waste your word limit on these kind of things, because SOP is a part of your application process, and your application process already have all those things. Like there is a separate designated section for those things, like where you can mention your name, age, your background, your area from where you belong. So you just need to waste your word limit on these kind of things, like your name, university name. You just need to mention the things about those things that you think like it's not present inside your application process. And the first question that I was asked in my interview was, introduce yourself. When I was introducing myself, I started with like I am Nimra Faridun, and they like stuck. I was stuck over there, and they cut me down over there. Like they were like, don't mention those things that are already present in your form, because we already have your form, we know about your name and everything. So mention those things like that that aren't present in your like form. So then I switch on to my social work and other things that makes me unique. So don't mention those kind of things even at your interview stage. So utilize the word limit wisely. Initial sentences should be catchy, inspiring, and unique, and it reflects your personality. Like as far as my SOP is concerned, I have started with my background, one sentence in my background, and then what are my future goals and how these goals are connected to this program. So after that, in the middle, you need to mention about your personality, like you are confident, enthusiastic, and you need to prove those qualities. And many students just throw that thing from they see the internet and they throw that things into their SOP. So don't mention those qualities that are not in your self, because you have to prove those qualities through your social work and anything. Like if you are a confident, you need.
Even just one more point. Even the things that you're, I mean, the activities that you're doing in the university these days, the volunteer work, the leadership work that you're doing. Like for example, if someone is a president of the society or vice president, they can prove their leadership quality, right? They
Yes.
have a leadership quality. So these things, the internships, the volunteer work that you're doing in all sorts of societies in NUML now, they are the ones that will make you stand out.
So any distinctions, like it can be an academic distinction as well, like any scholarship that you have achieved, any awards, anything like any position, board positions, or anything that makes you stand out, you can mention that in the distinction sections. And then anything that the social activities you have done, and then the academic goals, like why you are studying in a particular field. Like if your field is public administration, why you chose that field, and how that field is related to your academic goals. So and then at the end, you need to mention the benefits, like for your personal benefit, what this program will give you. Like in your personal benefit, it includes all like your academic benefits, like how your academic it will be beneficial for your academics, and how it will be beneficial for your personal development and as well as your professional development. So these are the things that you will get from them. And now the part comes, like what US will get from your this experience. So you need to mention that, like what you will do as a grantee of this scholarship when you will be in US, how you will portray the US, or how you will advocate for the US culture in your own community. And then the third thing is Pakistan. So what how you will use your experience in Pakistan when you will return back. So these are the three important things that need to be in your SOP. Like what are your personal benefits, how US will be benefit from this your experience, and how the Pakistan, your country will be benefited from this experience that you will get through this scholarship. So after this, like believe me, get your SOP, and after that get your SOP reviewed by alumni, seniors, teacher, mentors, people who have already been to US on any scholarship. Ask for suggestions. If you feel like editing the SOP after suggestion, go for it, and do not feel free to stick with whatever your thinking is. Because believe on yourself and trust yourself. This is the most important thing. And I think 2 to 3 reviews will be enough for you. And believe on yourself, trust on yourself, and this will be all. And then come the documentation section. After the SOP, there will be the documentation section where you have to upload your documents. The first thing is, here is the important note. um, Please attach only the PDFs or the image, like no word files or anything. So your file must be in PDF, or if it's an image, so it should be in a .gpg or PNG format. And limit the size of each uploaded file to 2 MBs. अगर तो फाइल साइज 2 MB से ज़्यादा होगा, so it will not be uploaded. So make sure these things in your mind. Be mindful of these things. And then the first things come the resume or your curriculum vitae. It is your CV. You need to upload a CV over here, and it should be an academic CV. Like the job CV is different from the academic CV, so you need to mention the research interest, research objectives, and these kind of things in your academic CV. So it must be academic CV. After that, your transcript from the university. And it is a question for many students ask this question, like either we should attach our transcript from HEC or anything. So at the application stage, you just need a transcript, and it should be attested from your
I think Nimra, these things would be definitely known by everyone. Can you please wind up?
okay. Okay. And then comes the degree. You need to upload your degree. After that, your GRE scores. um, and the minimum, it is a 4-hour program, and it is a computer based test. The minimum requirement is 145 in each section, and it is of three this test is of 3 sections, like qualitative, verbal, and analytical sections. I have also mentioned the links as well, where you can register for GRE, and YouTube link of there, where you can get useful information regarding the tests. So after that, the TOEFL, you need to upload the TOEFL test score report. And I have also mentioned the link where you can register for TOEFL. Then additional documents includes those documents like your certificate, honors, scholarship, awards, and it must be in the last 5 years. So it should be relevant, like if you are a president of any society, if you got any certificates or anything, you need to mention, you need to upload those certificates or honors or scholarship awards in this section. And it should be 5 documents, and आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि what 5 documents are important to you, and what makes difference in your SOP, in your form. So upload those 5 documents. After that, the personal information already known, like your address, city, province, postal code, country, home, and telephone number. And then your email address. Your identification number is your CNIC number. Marital status and number of dependents, mean if you are married or there are any dependents in your family, you need to mention those dependents, like your spouse, your spouse and children comes into your dependent. If you are married, you can mention that number over here. After that, if you have any physical disability, you need to mention that, and it will not hinder your process for the selection. They basically encourages you, if you are disabled in anything, they encourages you to apply for that thing. Other scholarship, like if you are applying in this section, if you have also applied for other scholarship, you can mention that in 70 to 75 words, and be mindful about the word limit. So I think this is all from my side. So the other presenter will continue on from now onwards.
Thank you so much, Nimra, for enlightening us with one of the most important part of the application. Now I would like to request Muhammad Darwish to please proceed with his presentation.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Wa alaikum salam. Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Have you shared it?
Uh, one minute, I'm sure. Can you see now?
Yes, it is now shared.
Okay, so I will cover these final sections of Fulbright application, the references, personal information, to personal financial information, university preferences, and then finally review and submit. So in this section, you have to add minimum 3 references, uh, as it is mentioned there. Once you will click on here, so you will find these options. You have to put information of your referee, his name, position, address, city, and the required information. Then here, USEFP have recommended 2 ways of adding references. You can do it in 2 ways. Like first method prescribe you that when you will put the information of your referee, then it will show you like this, and you have an option of send email. When you will click on it, send email, then USEFP will send them an email with ID and password, and they can log into it and they can add references online there. And there is another method 2. You can download references and letter of references, and you can send them, and they can fill it and they can send it to the given email or via courier. And here in the application, uh, you will find an option, click here. So when you will click here, you can download forms from there, and you can send your referee, and they can submit it through on email and courier. Then there is personal information 2 section, and you can here the option is proposed length of stay in US, that how many year you are going to stay there. You have to mention it here, and approximate arrival date. So your program will begin from 2024. How did you come to learn about this program? You have to add any of the options from the given below, and there's an option they are asking that have you ever been to US with any US government sponsored scholarship, like their SUSI, sister to sister, U grade. So if you have been, you can select, otherwise you can leave this. uh, and then you have to add your electronic signature here. You have to write your name in block letters. Then personal financial information. This is optional, as they themselves have mentioned that please skip this section. This section is not applicable, so you have to skip this section from your application. And then comes a university references, a university preferences. This is also optional. If you want to add your choices, you can add. Otherwise, they don't expect from you at this level that you have known about universities. So, but again, if you have your preferences, you can add minimum or at least 3. You can add up to 3 institutions of your own choice. It is up to you. And if you want to leave this section, you can also leave it, but if you have any choices, you can add. And again, they have
For
said that.
example, Darvish, for example, if a student had an opportunity of going to US, for example, Nimra has gone on UGrad exchange program, and if she had made any references there with the
Yeah.
professors, they can mention the same university for if when they're applying for masters or PhD program. So it's a good thing if you have been there, if you know someone there, you can mention. Otherwise, you can leave it optional.
Okay, then they have again said that this is not guaranteed that you will be enrolled to that program that you have been selected. Application are made on behalf of to the programs that provide a good academic fit and based on your study plans and competitiveness. So this is again the note by USEFP for you. And then finally you can review your application and submit it. That was from my side, and the application is done here. Review and submit option. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to all the presenters for their comprehensive and very precise presentations. Now, the attendees are requested to ask any kind of questions. If you have any kind of queries that you want to ask from these presenters, they are here, and we have still 23 minutes. So, if you have any kind of question, you can ask from the presenters.
You can raise your hands.
Raise your hand, and if you want to switch on your camera, you can do that. Or if you want to ask a question in the chat box, I'll read it for the presenters. Okay, so Rahmat is saying that can you tell more in detail about GRE general? I think Nimra, you
Yeah,
should answer.
GRE. Yeah, GRE general or GRE subject. Nimra?
Actually, GRE journal is the, like I have already mentioned, that the quantitative, verbal, and analytical part. It has three parts, and GRE subject-based test is basically about your specific subject like physics, chemistry, or anything. Like GRE journal is mostly on the those things, like अगर आप आपकी journal testing होती है उसमें, like your how you reason and what are your opinions about certain things. Like in the analytical section you need to write about the essays, um, like opinion based essays. And in GRE subject it is basically the subject specific test. And in many universities, like they need GRE subject specialists, and many universities ask for GRE journal. जब आप select हो जाते हैं after your interview or everything, और जब आपकी प्लेसमेंट होती है तो डिफरेंट यूनिवर्सिटीज़ की डिफरेंट रिक्वायरमेंट्स होती हैं. सम यूनिवर्सिटी वांट्स जीआरई जर्नल एंड सम यूनिवर्सिटीज़ वांट जीआरई सब्जेक्ट स्पेसिफिक. और जो सब्जेक्ट स्पेसिफिक होते हैं फॉर फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, एंड these kind of a sciences subjects, because these students are not good at analytical or essay type of things. So उन यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में, कुछ यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में आपके लिए जीआरई सब्जेक्ट आपसे रिक्वायर्ड होता है. So you just need to look for those things after your selection.
Usually for masters, and like Nimra has said, for masters program it's GRE general. For PhD program and especially for the sciences subject, it's GRE subject. GRE subject literature linguistics maybe hota hai, but it's very rare. Usually the literature and linguistics people, they go for GRE general because it's easy to get marks in that. You get verbal and analytical, both are based on language. Analytical thoda problem solving hai, but it's like a mixture of language and problem solving. So usually the English students, they go for GRE general. Yes, there is another question.
Um, the another question is basically about, is it necessary that strong academic background is needed for the application, or everyone can apply with not very good grades and past academic score? Second question is, GRE and IELTS are compulsory to apply? Any one of you can answer.
Yes, Noor?
Because I'd say that strong academic background is not the only thing that's necessary for your application to get selected. Obviously, it's important. Your grades are always important, but it's not the only thing that they're going to look at. They are going to look at your professional standing. They are going to look at your individual personality and how well you're capable of putting yourself across on the table. So although it's important, it's not the only thing that's important. So it's not going to hold you back. So even if you don't have good academic grades, I'd suggest taking your chances and going ahead and just doing well on the other sections. And yes, IELTS and GRE are necessary, but you do have choices. You can either do GRE general or just like Nimra mentioned, but they are
Not
necessary.
IELTS.
Yeah, you have choices there. You have
Yeah,
three
but
choices.
it's not IELTS. It's TOEFL. TOEFL is required for
Yes.
Fulbright. Yeah, IELTS is
So
not
you can just
required.
do better in those domains, even if you don't have a strong academic background. You can do better in your interview or your personal statement or your research objectives, and you will be good to go.
Actually, I wanted to add something like IELTS and TOEFL. Basically, this is a huge confusion about these two things. For the American universities, they mostly accept TOEFL, and some of them are also accepting IELTS as well. So but the universities that are accepting IELTS, they are also accepting TOEFL. So why not you should go for the TOEFL test, because it's covering most. If you are applying for UK universities, then you should go for the IELTS exam. And when it comes to US, you need to have TOEFL exam, because it's the US based exam. And most of the universities in America, they usually require TOEFL test rather than the IELTS.
When you're applying for through Fulbright through USCFP, you have to take TOEFL. You don't have any other option. But usually, when you're selected, you're in the interview and you get the result, then the university will ask you go for TOEFL. Otherwise, you don't have to do it beforehand. Yes. Next question.
Um, we have another question from Ummi Ruman Sayed. During our degree, our coursework include two courses of TEFL 1 and 2. So is it necessary to get TESOL certificate too? Or we can ask our university to give us language certificate of TEFL and it will suffice. I don't know about these tests because nobody mentioned these, but anyway, if any of you could answer this, please.
It's a TOEFL test, which is very important, and it should be valid for last 2 years, Nimra. Last 2 years, right?
Yes, it will
Yes.
be valid for
So
2 years.
yeah, so if you like it, just an NTS test, which is valid for 2 years. So you have, before applying for the application, you should have you should have passed the GRE test and TOEFL test. As I've mentioned, sometimes USCFP would ask you to take TOEFL test beforehand, but usually it happens that when you have been selected by the USCFP, they will ask you to take TOEFL afterwards, so that your money is not wasted as well. GRE is very important. GRE you need to take when you're applying for the Fulbright scholarship program. When you're filling the application, the GRE score should be in your hand. But TOEFL, you can take it afterwards as well when you are selected for the interview. So when you're selected, finally selected after the interview, they will inform you that now you have to take TOEFL test. But TOEFL is important.
Umirman, basically you mentioned two things like TEFL and TESOL. This is different from the TOEFL. Like there is that acronym is different. Like if you see TEFL, it is a teaching English as a foreign language. So teaching English as a foreign language is different from TOEFL. So it is a proficiency based test in which your proficiency like your reading, writing, these kind of skills are judged. And TEFL is different. As you have mentioned that we do have like the TEFL in our degree, like I'm 8th semester, so we have the TEFL course in our degree, like teaching English as a foreign language. That is completely different. It is basically a domain in English language and literature. So when जब आप आगे कहीं apply करते हो, तो you can choose it as a subject, like teaching English as a foreign language. When you have to choose this subject, you can teach whatever in anywhere, like in universities and anything. This is a subject, TEFL, and that TOEFL is different from the TEFL and TESOL. So hope this is the answer of your question.
There's another question from Muhammad Abdul Sami. The ratio of females is generally higher than males in such kind of exchange programs. Is it true? What are the possible reasons behind it? It's a very tricky question. Noor, if you want to go with this.
Many reasons. Uh, the first answer is that for Fulbright masters and PhD, there is no such there is no such kind of scaling that you have just mentioned. For exchange programs, like the one semester exchange programs, those are different. Fine. This is not an exchange program. This is a degree program. Masters and PhD is actually a degree program, and here both the males and females have the equal opportunity. There is no percentage difference in the degree programs. Remember this thing. Exchange programs, yes, they might have a different a different percentage, and the reason is very simple. That is, the male students, they go to other countries. It has happened usually in most of the cases. They don't want to come back. Even in the one semester exchange program, they have the opportunity to go to US, and then they don't want to come back. So that's the only reason that I can think of. Yes, Noor?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that when you see the UGrad flyers, right in the bottom of the section, they do write that women, people with disabilities, and people in from the remote areas of Pakistan, they're encouraged to apply. So I feel like the main reason is encouragement, because females are usually the ratio of applications when you see the UGrad applications, the ratio of females there is generally very comparably lower than the males. So I feel like it's mainly a matter of encouragement. They do offer women their due share. They do offer people with disabilities their due share to make them aware and to make everybody aware that this is an inclusive platform that does not discriminate based on any factors. So I feel like that's the primary reason.
Yes, any other questions? So Nimra and Noor both have shared their email addresses in the chat box. Can you please share them again? And you can write your recipes and objectives and you can email them. I have already received a few requests, Nimra and Noor. I'll be forwarding those requests to you guys as well. And Tanha has mentioned TOEFL and TESOL is also necessary. It's not TOEFL. You study TEFL in MA, in Masters in English or BS English. It's not TOEFL. TOEFL is something different. Just like IELTS, it's a proficiency test which has 4 language skills. All right. So you have got the 3 emails here. So you can please send your application, or and after this Fulbright applications, there's going to be UGrad, sister to sister, and other opportunities coming up in fall semester. I think before fall semester you will also get notifications for them as well. So if you're not applying for Fulbright, you can apply for UGrad and other exchange programs. Even for those exchange programs, if you want to get your personal statement checked, objectives checked, please email these 3 people who have just shared their emails. Any kind of exchange program other than the Fulbright. All right, I think that's it for today. No more questions.
So I'm very thankful and grateful to all the presenters and the attendees for their patience. And of course, it was not possible without the due support of Ma'am Iram Shehzadi. So thank you so much, Ma'am, for arranging this. And once again, all presenters, thank you so much. And happy iftar, I would say.
Thank you
It's
so
time.
much for attending. Yes, thank you so much, all the presenters and Abbas as well. Very well done. And we'll be meeting again after Eid for the exchange programs, the other exchange programs that we have just been talking about.
Sure.
So see you all again. Thank you so much. Thank you, members of the societies, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.